It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell them mama hungry.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For the first time since 1954, a true HBCU sports champion will be crowned on the field. The Black College World Series will feature 7 HBCUs battling for supremacy in baseball from April 28th to May 1 at Riverwalk Stadium in Montgomery, Alabama. Tickets are available at ticketrun.com. It can be viewed online at mybcsn.net. This event brought to you by the City of Montgomery, the Montgomery Biscuits, BCSG 360, Black College Nines, Golden Coast Logistics, and the Black College Sports Network.
What a shot! That's how you get hot, young fella.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is
HBCU sports today and whatnot. So I tell you what, having a good day today, good Thursday. Good to be back on with you.
I like it. I like it. It's good to have you on there. Let me shout out, get over there to Alan
Doc,
Williams.
hold on. Let's take a break real quick.
Oh,
We got to take a break real quick.
we're going to take a break real quick.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Ave's record. 202 and 36, I think, some off-the-wall figures.
And nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands. And the score wound up 34-28.
The only thing we proved that we wasn't inferior, that we were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we was better than them.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Back on it as we took that quick break. Again, we were talking about Charles Bishop with us and Alan Williams joining the show. How you doing, Alan?
Doing great, man. Cannot complain. I'm enjoying all this track and field we got going on up in Eugene, Oregon right now.
No doubt about it. We're going to get into a little bit of that track and field. A lot of information. We started out yesterday with the men, and we're going with the qualifying rounds for the women today. So we'll take a deep dive and let everybody know that hasn't been able to catch up with it, what's going on. Got A&T doing their thing, but we got a couple of other HBCU updates we can give as well, and a couple of them getting into the finals. So it should be intriguing and interesting when we can get into a little bit about that talk. But with that, let's start it off with the transfer portal. I know you've seen all this news with Tennessee State former Grambling quarterback Hickenbottom has switched over. He's still going to be playing Grambling, his old team, but instead of doing it as a Wildcat for Bethune-Cookman, he's going to be actually doing it for Tennessee State, the Tigers there, and he's going to open up the season in that Hall of Fame game. Let me start with you, Charles. What are your thoughts on this going on right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good landing spot for Jeremy Hickenbottom in terms of Tennessee State needing a little bit more firepower, especially at the quarterback position. Gives him an opportunity. He comes in with a lot of experience under center for Grambling.
So that immediately, I think, boosts the quarterback position in Tennessee State. So it'll be very interesting going against his old team to kind of start the season off there with Grambling and Tennessee State in that Hall of Fame Classic. So it should be a really interesting contest. But I tell you what, he could not have found a better spot in terms of hopefully getting an opportunity to showcase his skills, because we saw a little bit from Hickbottom, over the past couple of seasons. He has some talent. He can have some big games. So it's just putting it all together.
I know your brother went to Tennessee State. Actually, both of your brothers that went to Tennessee State. So you're familiar with that Nashville area in a lot of ways, taking care of business there. What are your thoughts in terms of what does this mean for Tennessee State with the transfer of Grambling? They're supposed to have some quarterbacks. You think he's automatically going to start or get an edge? What do you think is going on there?
Well, no, I think he's trying to get some of that shine off of the Eddie George move that Tennessee State made. So, I think a lot of these kids are trying to make it to that next level, and they look at some of these coaches who've played in that next level. They think they have a upper hand to help them get there. So he's thinking he may get invited to some combines or some tryouts that he may not have been invited to from Bethune-Cookman. So I think that had more to do with that move than being a fit at Tennessee State, because Tennessee State's going to be pretty stacked here at quarterback. So he's going to have to earn that spot. It's not going to be a given. So he showed a little bit of life here in this spring season, but he's got his work cut out for him to try and get that starting position at Tennessee State.
Great points you make there. I thought, Charles, he was going to say in the upper room for a minute there.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna go back to you, Charles, and this time I'm gonna put it on you. What is on your mind in terms of the HBCU landscape? What do you want to jump into?
Well, of course, we're going to
discussion with.
Yeah, we're going to jump into North Carolina A&T and what they're able to get done. But I think big story that's kind of came out today. Dalen Baldwin, he tweeted out a deal with regards to getting an opportunity to play at the Ohio State University. So we've seen a lot of, as you put it, churning. Instead of conference churning, we've seen athlete churning in terms of transfer portal and getting an opportunity, to get some offers out there and kind of reopen the recruitment. So it's kind of big news today with regards to Dalen Baldwin, kind of working the circuit, if you will, up there in the Big Ten.
I like that you added that little academic terminology in there. I see working towards your doctorate, you're going to add to the literature. He said athlete churning, not just college churning. Wow, that's nice in this new age. Let me stick with you for a minute and take a little deeper dive. Now I'm gonna follow up with Alan and see if he wants to jump in there or take it in a different direction. But have you seen this portal as a push, or have you seen it going more one way than the other as you follow these churning with some FBS players coming down, moving over the HBCUs, and obviously some HBCU players moving up to the FBS or moving to other programs, just like we talked about Hickbottom. So you see it in any direction, weighing more one way than the other, or is it a push?
I think it depends on the team. I think if you looked at a team like University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, they've had quite a few guys that have entered into the transfer portal. Jackson State has had quite a few guys that have entered into the transfer portal. But I think I think it's kind of a push thus far in terms of you've had a lot of guys get some offers and whatnot, but then it seemingly has sort of kind of fell out in the wash with regards to schools not particularly losing so much as one would think. I think as fans, we all kind of ask the immediate question, why? What's happening? There's something going on with our program. Why are guys leaving? And sometimes it's just, guys getting an opportunity to exercise the freedom to actually transfer that they did not have before. So, we kind of have to keep some things in perspective.
Yeah, you're always the right one to keep it in perspective. Low key, to the point. I really respect that about how you analyze a lot of things. Alan, let's stick that for a minute, but I'm going to spin it a little differently. Alcorn did not play in the spring. FAMU did not play in the spring. Bethune-Cookman obviously did not play football. In fact, they didn't play any sports fall and spring. I hadn't had a lot of noise in terms of the transfer. You had the one or two people from Alcorn, but I really hadn't heard anything, FAMU. Bethune-Cookman may have had one or two. Do you think there's something to that they are in a better position if you had to rank some teams that got hit worse? Charles shared it about Jackson State, shared it also in regards to Pine Bluff. Not so much for Alabama A&M. They won the championship, but these other three schools really didn't play, and they don't hear a lot of the athlete churning, if you will use that framework that Charles used. What are your thoughts on that? Am I digging too much, or is there something to that I'm trying to put on the table?
I think you've got your finger on something there, Doc. If you look at the schools that played, we said this at the beginning of the spring season, were they going to look at the spring football season as one to go get that championship, or is that going to be a big evaluation period, almost like the NFL treats their preseason? Well, all those that played in the preseason, those players had to evaluate the likelihood that they would have a starting spot come fall. Those schools that didn't play, those players don't have that information, right? Everyone pretty much stood pat in those situations. Look at Prairie View. You had Story Jackson, our #1 linebacker. Even though he graduated, he just jumped into the portal last week. Reggie Stubblefield, another starter of ours in defensive backfield. So we went from, 3 weeks ago feeling great about the fall season to right now, I'm a little worried, man.
Yeah, the truth be told, I am too. With that being said, let's stick with it. And obviously, you just had the HBCU All-Star game. I heard it really went well. So I'm going to let you either take it in that direction and how you thought that turned out. Obviously, BCSN with Roy was able to stream the game, really doing well. But also, you had North Carolina Central's Ryan Miller, that is, Division I All-American Collegiate Baseball as a sophomore, had a historic season with the Eagles baseball program, and he has been recognized as second-team Division I All-American by Collegiate Baseball. Big deal. This is the team that is cutting out baseball. They did win the regular season in terms of the Southern Division and played for the conference championship, not to be done, as Norfolk State obviously won the MEAC tournament and got the bid to the NCAA baseball tournament. College World Series is a lot of people are talking about. But what are your thoughts in terms of Ryan Miller, what he was able to get done, or the HBCU All-Star game, which had some big names out there? Ricky Weeks was doing some live activities. They went to the museum, Negro Baseball Museum, that I didn't even really realize existed. Shame on me, but that's why you have programs like that to really connect the past with the present and doing it in such a way where you're honoring the young men and giving them a place to showcase their skills. I thought that was a big deal. Kudos to all involved with that. Sticking with you, Charles, what are your thoughts on either one of those in terms of the baseball?
Well, I think you had 50 baseball players from 26 HBCUs across MEAC, NCAA, Division II, all converging in one spot. And it was really getting an opportunity for everybody to kind of showcase their skills and get their names and faces in front of some scouts. So I think it was a great thing in terms of having this cultural and sporting baseball game that really put these guys on Front Street, if you will, because there were some names that, if you're not following NAIA or Division II baseball, and even sometimes around SWAC and MEAC, you just didn't get an opportunity to know who they are. So anytime we get an opportunity to shine light on our HBCU baseball players, that's a tremendous thing.
That's a great point, especially when baseball is played in the division. So you tend to focus on your division and then the tournament. And if somebody may have done something really well all season, the long journey, as I like to say, the mile relay in terms of the regular season, but didn't quite do it in terms of what I call the tournament, the sprint. And you see what's going on. I'm going to get on the other side of this. I'm going to get Alan's thought on either one of those frameworks. But we're going to take a quick break. This is Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break, and we'll get Alan to touch in and see what he thinks about this baseball framework for HBCU schools. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike is out on assignment, really doing, I don't know if he's coaching lacrosse, playing lacrosse. No, not for real. I think it's his son doing a little bit of cross. Had some nice little pictures up on the Facebook. A lot of brothers getting out there mixing in. Proud of with the lacrosse. It's good, interesting stuff there. As he said, he got a chance to talk with Hampton, with their lacrosse program. We'll see how that's going and where that might work out. But as he's doing his thing, we're doing our thing. And I left off with Alan Williams, and I wanted you to chime in a little bit, your thoughts on the HBCU All-Star Game, NCAA Miller, or somewhere else that you want to take it in a whole different direction. What you got from it?
All right, first on the All-Star Game, I think it was a fantastic showcase. I like the fact that the HBCUs are now starting to get a little more notoriety and starting to get some of this pub. You notice next year we've got the same thing coming on football side where they'll have a HBCU specific combine. So I'm all for getting these athletes additional opportunities. The one thing on the All-Star Game for this year, it was supposed to be in Frisco, Texas. It was supposed to be up the street from me, but it got moved. So I'm hoping we can get that back over here in North Texas here before too long, man, because I was really looking forward. I had set my weekend aside to attend that one, man. So I was a little sad that it got moved, but anytime those kids can get an additional opportunity to play, I'm all for it.
Man, that's a great point. I was feeling the same way because I thought I was going to get a reason to make a trip. I'm still going to find a way to Greater Dallas. I got too many folks up there I got to see, especially now I got my shots, I got my mask. I'm going to see what's going on. And then I heard somebody got a little pool in the backyard, you know what I'm saying? Put my toe in a little bit. I'm just saying, that's what I heard. I don't know. If I haven't seen much. I hadn't been invited to the pool party. So I'm just trying to figure out all this stuff out. We'll see what's going on. But just putting a little jab there. But with that's going on, let's go a little bit in there. I know you wanted to add something else in terms of people making a push from HBCUs to the Olympics. What you got on that, Al?
Well, we've got Howard University's own Miles Simon is advancing to the Olympic trials in swimming in the 50 free. He laid down a 23:11 in the 50-yard freestyle, which advances him to Omaha, Nebraska for the Olympic trials. He'll only be the second student in history to ever make the Olympic trials for that swimming team. So kudos to HU. Let's go. Let's get it.
Charles, you see how I touched on that a little bit, talking about the swimming pool and knew that we were going in this swimming direction? Yeah, that's purposeful. I just, you got to make sure you find a way going on.
You can never have enough HBCU swimming.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. That's the big one. And that's really the only program out there. As you go to that, we had Howard president that was talking about NIL, the name, image, and likeness, NIL, testifying in terms of what his thoughts is. And he pushed and said that HB supported, but he put a little twist in there a little bit. And it ties back into the Howard swimming teams. He said he was a little concerned in terms of what this may do to programs such as Howard swimming. He made sure that everybody knew that Howard has the only swimming program remaining at a HBCU. We had one at FAMU, as we know. They're coming over to the SWAC. They dropped it first in terms of some of the last 3 programs in the MEAC that had swimming. Then it was A&T that dropped their program. So the only one left is Howard. And you're talking about historic swimming programs. You had the Tiger Sharks at Texas Southern a while back. You had it at Southern University. They literally had scholarships for folks who swimming. And now as HBCUs, we're down to 1 program. So it's fascinating. You got Tennessee State talking about hockey, but swimming is just not to be had. What are your thoughts, though, on President Frederick in terms of his remarks at Howard University testifying in terms of the name, image, and likeness, Charles? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I wanted to follow up and ask what specifically did he point to with regards to Howard swimming?
He said that he was concerned that programs such as that, if we weren't careful about how they were going to make guidelines in terms of funding NIL, and that HBCUs may be in one of those trigger points where they would lose programming, athletic programming, based on what kind of guidelines and rules and standards they set. In my opinion, he was talking about making sure there was some guidelines that allowed athletes to take advantage of NIL, but not doing it at the loss of HBCUs in terms of those sports programs, and in some cases, other programs. You always have those rules that are in Georgia where they talk about keeping 70% of the funding. So I think he's talking about all these loopholes, and you have these states doing their individual framing of it, but you need federal legislation. But I think he wanted to make sure he put on the table that they understood that this is something that you should really look deeply at in terms of how you govern it and allow, as I believe they should, the athletes to take advantage of it, if you would allow me to say it from that framework. So just curious in terms of, if not getting deep into the question, also the importance of at least having an HBCU present there, because you also had the president of the NCAA, a couple of other presidents in terms of the Power Five, and the fact that you had his voice there, I think was important, whether you necessarily agree with it wholeheartedly. But I think inclusion, as we have some of these buzzwords that they put around here, diversity and inclusion and all that kind of stuff, I think it's important that you have at least a voice at the table to share different framework. How are you framing that, since I tie it in that direction?
No, extremely important to have a seat at the table to talk about these issues with NIL. You know, when this first came out, we automatically sort of think football, basketball, you know, kind of the big 3 in regards to the NIL. But for him to not only have a seat at the table and talk about the other sports, how will it affect the sports that are not, you know, quote unquote, the big 3 is extremely important. So I'm glad that he was able to talk about that and bring in that sort of framework in regards to those other athletes that are not, you know, football, basketball, baseball, those guys.
Right. Yeah, when you look at that, let me go in here and give a shout out. Don Johnson, Curl, Edmund, Chuck Hunt is in the house. G. Boom Holly, breaking it down for us. Fred Whitty said, Heritage Center Black College Sports Encyclopedia, the HBCU football history. A.D. Drew is checking us out as well. He said, my nephew developing into a great lacrosse player. I'm actually beginning to understand the game. See what happens? Showcase a little bit of lacrosse, you can just never know. Quentin Henry, LaShawn Harris, checking us out in terms of those doing it, checking us out today. Let me give a shout out to Michael Lee, always giving all those folks over there in the FCS land headaches, boy. I tell you, he just a headbanger. With that, let me go back to you, Alan, and talk about your framing on the name, image, and likeness. The fact that you had an HBCU president at the table testifying, or your thoughts in terms of what he had to say, which direction really is something that you're interested in, how it's going with HBCUs moving forward with NIL.
You know, I think it was interesting who they invited to those hearings. I was glad to see the president of Howard there to represent from an HBCU perspective. But what you didn't have at the table, you didn't have any athletes, you didn't have any women. Now, we all know that based on Title IX, women are a huge part of college sports. And as we start talking about NIL, you know, you're going to bring in some of this revenue that used to go directly to coaches. You remember when Coach K got the huge Nike contract where Nike was almost paying him more than the university, right? So now these brands, the Jordan brand, the Nike brand, Adidas brand, can now take that down a level to these student athletes. And I don't know about you, but the two greatest or best athletes on the planet right now are females. You got Simone Biles in gymnastics. You got Naomi Osaka in tennis. Those are the top two draws in athletics, period. Period. So how do we not have any women testifying as we're starting to talk about this NIL? To me, it doesn't smell right. I don't want this to turn out to be a bunch of old white men making a decision on how much money these women or these minorities can make based on their name, image, and likeness. And when you see things like what happened in Georgia, where they're going to take 75% of the revenue and redistribute it to other athletes. What do they call that in most of our red states? Don't they call that socialism? It's only socialism when it's going one way. Okay, you know how they used to say, "Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun." So we're gonna see what happens here, man. But I'm telling you, I got the side eye on them right now.
Oh man, that's great framing in terms of how you discuss it, and so many of that is true. Want to add in that you had North Carolina A&T, first HBCU to jump on there with in terms of looking at NIL rights for its athletes. Previous to that, you had North Carolina A&T look at how they do it as a institution. Bethune-Cookman was the first one to jump in there and understand that NIL was coming in North Carolina Central. So it'll be intriguing to see how they move forward. But your point in not having women at the table, I mean, you had just a bad look, just how NCAA didn't get it right for women's basketball. This is during the time of the softball, if you would, going on, and all the questions that they had in terms of having to do all these late changes that they weren't going to get right, having people play in turns until it seemed like the sun came back up, and they finally made the decision that they were going to push it to the next day so everybody could get rest, having athletes switch hotels late and things of that nature. This is a $1 billion organization, and you finding ways not to get it right, it doesn't quite make sense. And as you said, Alan, I have my other eye. I'll let you have one eye on them, the side eye. I'm gonna have the other side on them, just in case in terms of we do that. We're right up against.
I wanted to ask real quick, who do you think would have been a good individual who should have been at the table?
Coach Staley. Dawn Staley. That's it. Yeah, put her at the table, I'm good.
Levels in terms of the Olympics, professional, came back and did it as a coach, rised up the rank, came from meager beginnings. So she certainly understands what it would mean to be able to have athletes with name, image, and likeness. And then obviously she's going to bring the woman's perspective to the table. Great choice in terms of who should have been at that meeting in regards to giving a different perspective. And then, as you said also, Alan, I think it's important that you needed some current students, both probably a male and female, in terms of what that looks like, and probably needed to have a couple of them, basketball, football, women's and men's basketball, and then some other opportunities, because when you talk about some of these Olympic sports, there's some women that could take advantage of name, image, and likeness. I mean, this goes back where you had the athlete from Colorado that was a skiing individual that couldn't play football and take money in terms of endorsement. You talk about bringing it back to the HBCU perspective. Dion was able to navigate that space, and he talks about it as he was able to get money playing baseball in terms of professional contract with the Yankees, although he came back and played another year for the Florida State Seminoles in terms of football. So it's weird because they have all these convoluted rules of how you can do it, who can't do it, how you might better do it. And when it doesn't work out, they bring the hammer. So it's not even one of those things where they take understanding of what's going on in the individual's life. With that, I think you bring up great points. Let's take another break. It's Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And as I promised, and I did it as a little bit of tease, we're going to get into some of that track and field, let you know what happened yesterday and what you should look for tonight. We'll be right back after this quick break with none other than Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Sitting in for Mike Washington is none other than Alan Williams. Let's do it. Stick with it.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As you know by now, Alan Williams is sitting in for Mike Washington and having great conversation about many different HBCU landscape, as I like to say, the sporting HBCU diaspora. With that, let's get into a little bit of this track and field. People want to know what is going on with the Aggies and some of the other HBCU programs. I'm going to start with you, Charles. Where do you want to start in terms of what you saw took place yesterday? A lot of good information out there. That 4x1? Are you going into a different direction?
Well, it's the names themselves. I think Trevor Stewart and Randolph Ross, they jumped out early and showed who they are and what they can do. So it's going to be fun following those guys over the next couple of days here to see what they can get done in front of a national audience with all these Power 5 schools and whatnot. So I'm really looking forward to watching them and the A&T women over the next couple of days.
Oh man, you take it right out of my words right out of my mouth in terms of that. It was so cool to be watching your TV and you see all these branded names, as I like to call them, coming up there, and then you get your chance and you see the shot, you get the A&T, interlocking A&T on there, and you know what's going on. You know these guys, you feel like you know them, you've been following them, and you're like telling the world, y'all better watch out for Ross. Now everybody seems to know it a little bit. As you talk about it, and you see them get in the blocks and they just take care of business. I mean, setting the pace, follow, because you got some 3 heats, and they just get it done in terms of what's going on. So I thought that was tremendous in the 200, how they got it done there. What are your thoughts on all that, Alan?
Man, all I got to say is in the 400 meters prelims, you got Randolph Ross coming in first place at 45.24. and Trevor Stewart coming in third at 45.36, and they are on the same 4x4. Now, mind you, earlier this year, the GOAT, Trevor Stewart, he split 43 high in the 4x4. So they pulled up, bruh. All I'm saying is they pulled up. In the 4x4, the granddaddy, the grand finale, they took first spot at 3:03.23. That's almost, I mean, they almost 4 seconds off of their pace from 2 weeks ago. So you know they got more in the tank. They were just like, okay, we don't have to show out now. But when they broke that record a couple of weeks back, they changed the order up. I look for a change of order in the 4x4 in the grand finale tomorrow night. Man, I got my little A&T visor in the room, bro, and I'm telling you, bro, you swear I'm an Aggie this week. I'm sorry.
All eyes are going to be on that 4x4.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Mind, in fact, let me do it like this.
Yeah, I'm an Aggie this week.
Yeah, I'm on it. Jamie
out
Walker,
to Lonnie
Aggie
Shaw.
Pride. I see. I'm proud of too. Aggie Pride. I can say it. I said, let me get my little bit of fame in here, man. But shout out to them. They're getting it done. This is courtesy of Dr. Roderick Holmes. He did this work for me on the men's and women's side. Let me get some of this information out, and then I'm going to let you circle back and give some further thoughts on this. I'm going to start with you, Alan, and then I'll skip over to you, Charles. A&T, Akeem, Sirleaf, Randolph Ross, Daniel Stokes, Devontae Hardy advanced to the finals by finishing first in Heat 2 of 3 with a time of 39, ranked number 2 behind U of H with a 38.54. Coppin State and Norfolk State failed to advance to the finals. Shout out to Coppin State and Norfolk State, the fact that they made it there. MEAC is representing, so just wanted to give a shout out there. Coppin State ran 39.51, a season best, finished 6th. Norfolk State 40.18, finished 8th in Heat 1. Interesting that there were 3 HBCUs competing in the 4x100 and 2 ran in the same heat. 110 high hurdle, 9 advanced top 2 in each heat. And the 3 best times, junior Corey Poole for North Carolina A&T finished 4th in Heat 1 of 3 with 13.75. Need to run faster than the 13.68 to qualify. Missed by 0.07. Oh my goodness. Of a second, just off of it. Man, just squeezing out. 109 advanced, top 2 in each heat. And the 3 best times, senior Joseph Amoy Coppin State finished 4th in the Heat 1 of 3 with 10.21. He was putting them up, putting them down. Qualified on time. Freshman Devontae Hardy finished 4th in the Heat. This is tough to hear. Heat 2 of 3 with a 10.22, but failed to qualify by 0.008, 8/100,000th of a second off. And
that's not even a blink of an eye, bro.
Yeah.
He was in the fastest heat. He would have qualified in a different heat, but as he said, you take the top 2 heat, no matter where they are, and then the next top time. So, let me go to you, Alan, and get your thoughts on any of those, and then we'll jump back more in here a little bit. Go ahead, Alan. I see you want to jump in.
Yeah. With Devontae Harding, he ran at 10.216, but he had a plus 1.3 headwind. The guy that was just ahead of him had 0 wind. So when you talk about 0.008, I think that's what made the difference, bro. If he had ran 5 minutes earlier or 5 minutes afterwards, it could have been a different story. So that's track and field for you. That's why they don't have an indoor.
So Alan, for all of us who weren't fast, what does that headwind mean? Because I'm listening, I'm like,
Okay. All right. So when you ride in the car and you roll your window down, right? If you put your arm out sideways like this, you don't really get that much resistance. But if you put it like this, your hand wants to go the other way, doesn't it?
Okay.
So no headwind is this, headwind is that. So it's like running with a parachute on. So it may seem slight at 1.3 miles an hour, but when the guy that beat you by 0.008 had no headwind, that can make all the difference in the world. But that's part of track and field. That's why they run it outdoors, and they call it the outdoor championships. If it was indoor, all that is taken off the table for you. That's why none of the track and field.
And you got the weather. You in
60 degrees.
60 degrees. You had intermittent rain. So I'm just like, how do you get all these championships?
And in the West regionals at Texas A&M, the lights went out on one of the 4x4 heats. The lights just went out. They lost power. Those guys didn't get a rerun. You had to finish. So Ohio State was caught in that. A kid that my sons used to run track with was on that Ohio State 4x1, and they didn't get a redo. So they at home watching. That's just track and field. Hey, if the gun goes off, you don't stop until you cross that line. Period.
Yeah,
you hear the gun again.
Didn't qualify in there 4x100, I think it was, in terms of that not getting it done, and they had the second fastest time coming in there behind A&T, I should say. So I'm not sure it meant a lot in regards to how the total outcome might do, but they should still have enough. But you think about when you take all those points fighting for a national title, that starts to add up. And that's why I was saying how close it was to having Harding be able to move forward, because you're fighting for those total points. You talked a little bit about the 400 with the 9 advances, you know, with 2 in each heat again, three best times. Randolph Ross won the heat 1 and 3. You talked about that, but one thing I want to point out, both should get favorable lane draws in the finals in regards because of their time. So that's a big deal too that you want to keep your eyes on when you're looking at 800, 9 advanced, top 2 in each heat again, 3 best time. And see, A&T, the Aggies, on it again, senior. At Barker, finished 5th in heat 2 of 3 with 148.92, but fails to advance right there on it. 400, Hurdles, 9 advanced, 2 in each heat, 3 best times. Senior Akeem Lindo finished 8th in the heat with a 52.36. 200, you had freshman Javante Harding finished 3rd in the heat, 3 of 3 with 20.28 qualified based on time. So he's in the mix there. 4x4 advances, top 2 heat, each 3 best. You had the Stokes, Ross, Shirley, Stewart, the ones who making it famous for us in terms of the Aggie pride. Let me say it again. Win heat 1 of 3 with the 3:03.23 to advance to the finals with the fastest time. And I say it one more time, fastest time going into the finals. A&T enters the mean ranking number 1 with a time of 2:59.21. East Regional long jump, junior Brandon Hickland finished 1st in flight 2 of 2 to advance to the finals, where he finished 4th with a jump of 7.91 meters or 25.11 and a half, a personal best. We talked about getting some of those field events, so you even see A&T being able to get that done. I think that's a huge when you talk about that. Let me get your final thoughts on that before we go to the women, because we're going to let everybody know Chivalry's not done. We're going to talk about the women as they show up tonight, and they're probably going to show out as the Aggies do. Go ahead, Charles.
Well, I wanted to follow up on something you said in regards to the lane draws, and for fans who don't know, how important is it to be in one of those preferable lanes, and which are the preferable lanes?
So let me break that down for you. At the new track in Eugene, Oregon, the lane preference is in this order: 6, 7, 5, 8, 4, 9, 3, 2, 1. Now, back in the day, you know, when we used to run on those 8-lane tracks, everybody wanted lane 4. That was the key. In this 9-lane track out at Oregon, lane 6 is your number 1 lane. That's where you want to be. So always look. That's just the way the track is set up. So that is considered the middle of the track. Okay. So that person will have the straightest line all the way around. They won't have the biggest oval. They won't have the smallest oval, but they'll have the one in the middle. That's lane 6. So look for whoever's in lane 6 is the one who should win that heat. But as we go to see, when you come to that 4x4, only the first runner runs in the lane the entire lap. After that, they have to aim for the pole with the second runner coming out of the first turn. So look for A&T to switch it up, you know, because you always, you know, if you're going for a record, you want to put your fastest runner in that to pop it off, because they don't have to fight with the scrum. Right? They're going to run in the lane the whole time. So look for Ross. I think they will put Ross to pop it off when you come to the finals tomorrow night. I'm going to be fired up, bro.
I was bringing him in today. Alan Williams is giving you some little education out there for those that are not that familiar, but are following HBCU Aggies as they get it done. Much shout out again. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with the women as we close it all out. This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Sitting in for Mike Washington is none other than Alan Williams. Mike Washington is out on assignment, taking a little business, taking care of some business, doing his little cross thing with his son, making us all proud. We'll be right back. Stick with us as we close out the show on our last segment.
This is Ryan Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
We know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, here back for our last segment. And as you see, Alan Williams, I think Charles knows about this. I think he believes in the Aggies. He's representing all over the place. Nice. I like that. We're going to stick with you, Alan. Talk a little bit about the women. Let me start you off in terms of some of the things, and you pick what direction you want to come off the shelf with this. And I'll spin it back around for Charles to provide some other information as well. 4x100, 9 advanced, top 2 in each heat, and the 3 best times, as you continue to hear, just making sure it's clear. North Carolina A&T is in heat 1, lane 8, 42.92. That's Sturgis, Darius, DeVos Epps, and Ross in terms of freshman, sophomore, junior, and sophomore, respectively, in reverse order as I gave it to you. Should be interesting there. 100 hurdle, 9 advanced, top 2 in each heat, and 3 best times. You have 3 Aggies getting it done in the hurdle. Paula Salma, Mandeline, I can't pronounce the last name. I'm gonna let Charles get that in there. And Robinson, junior, senior, and senior in terms of 12.89, 12.84, 12.83 coming in to get it done in terms of that. 100, you also have DeVos Epps and Sturgis again, both sophomores, as you heard earlier. They're young and getting that experience now. That's all right when you talk about that. Alan, what do you say in terms of those races as we get into some more information, because we got a couple of more as well?
All I gotta say is Cambria Sturgis is the truth.
Yep.
She is the truth. As a sophomore coming in, bro, she is going to get some points. So I like A&T to advance in that 4x1, and I like her to advance in that 100. I think they may get 2 out of 3 into the finals in the hurdles, but it's all going to depend on who can get out the blocks, because it's going to be a little chilly in Oregon. So we'll see tonight who can get out those blocks. Remember, all these kids just ran in sunny 80-degree weather to get here, right? So now they are in Oregon. Is overcast and it's 60 degrees. To warm your body up to get out the hole is a little bit different than
so you
what
know
you
I have
had
$1 million
ago.
question. How do we go from sunny 80 degrees to running in overcast weather in Oregon? I think that was a question that I had rolling around. I know Oregon is the track capital of whatever, but if the weather is not conducive to track and field, well, why are we there?
Bruh, Oregon has locked in the NCAA championships for, I want to say, at least the next 3 years. Then it comes back to Texas for 1 year, and then it goes back to Oregon for another 3. So your guess is as good as mine. All I know is, USC just finished their track, and it never rains in Southern California, like Tony used to say. So, hey, to me, I would put it where I'm going to have good weather and fast times. But right. Hey, what can you argue with? This is the same track that they're going to have the Olympic trials on. So if it's good enough for the Olympians, it's got to be good enough for the collegiates. But everybody's got to run in the same track. Everybody's dealing with that same weather challenge. So, it's hard to have an excuse when everybody's got to do it.
No doubt.
Great point. Any additional thoughts that you want to add into that, Charles, in terms of the Lady Aggies, in terms of what's going on there?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to put the names out there. Cambria Sturgis, just as Alan mentioned. I mean, she's run the second best time, both 100 and 200 meters. You also have, and you mentioned the hurdles, Dr. DeVille, in terms of the young ladies running the hurdles, senior Terica Robinson, Madeline Akabundu, She's also in there, Paula Salmon. So they're all, vying to get some points there for the North Carolina A&T lady program. And hopefully, they can accumulate some points in the other events. So those are the other things that I'll be looking for. And I definitely want to mention Kamaya DeBozef. She's also part of that team that really has brought the heat for North Carolina A&T's women's program. So, looking forward to it over the next night or so tonight, to see what the Aggies can get done on the lady side.
No doubt about it. 200, 9 advanced. You have Ross, the Bolson Sturgis, as you talked about. Freshman, sophomore, and sophomore putting it down, 22.87, 22.91, and 22.26 coming in. As you said, Sturgis is the real deal. 4x4, as you imagine. Heat 1, lane 3. McDuffie, Darius, Ross, and Stallman. That's the junior freshman, and junior 334.72. Shout out to Howard. As we talk about it, they're also in the 4x4. Boy, MEAC, you don't think about the MEAC in terms of speed and where they are, but they figuring it out some kind of way. Scott, Celia, Wright, and Gabia, senior, junior, senior. So it's a senior-led team, 333.71. So they actually have a better time than that Lady Aggies in terms of this. So that should be interesting. And then in terms of taking it off in the high jumps in the field events, you have Salone, Prairie View, and Wilson A&T, senior and sophomore, getting it done. So shout out to Prairie View in terms of Deshae Salone bringing it in there. In terms of that, let me get your thoughts on that before I give a shout out to Texas Southern.
Doc, we're going to have a conversation one day about some of these SWAC track and field programs in terms of what's happened to them, because we're talking about the MEAC, and kudos to all the programs within the MEAC in terms of where they've gotten to at this point. But, you've grown up with Texas Southern. You've grown up with, Prairie View. You've grown up with all those great programs. And it's just interesting, the juxtaposition in terms of the power that it's gone to the MEAC in regards to track and field.
Yeah, you had Southern has a great history. Alabama A&M, before they came to Division, at the Division II, had a lot of great history. So you're right. It's fascinating in terms of what's going on there. What are your thoughts in terms of those races, Alan?
Well, I think the 4x4 it's going to take 332 low to advance to the final. So both of these teams are going to have to put in a season best in order to advance, if you ask me. You got a lot of teams out here bringing some heat. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. But we'll see. We'll see if maybe Howard can squeak in there. I think they have a legitimate shot. They've got some senior leadership on that team. They got 3 seniors running in that 4x4. So this is really these athletes' last chance to run. So if they don't advance in that 4x4, that's it. That's the last event of the day. So I think Howard probably has a better shot at it than A&T. So we'll see later on this evening how that works out. Shout out to Miss Sloan, who is the Prairie View high jump champ, who advanced to the NCAAs. We're so proud of you. Looking for a good showing out of her, as well as Kennedy Wilson, who's a sophomore from A&T. So looking forward to the night, man. It's going to get your popcorn out, because this is going to be exciting. We're going to see a lot of points going A&T's way. The only thing that makes it difficult for A&T to really compete for the championship is you don't get a lot of points out of some of the field events and the multis. Yeah. The multis are huge. So when you look at some of these teams, they may not win one race on the track, but they're in contention because they're getting all these points out of the multis and the field events. So that is a strategy that has to do with recruiting and being able to pay coaches for all those events. That's the difference with the SWAC schools. It comes down to funding. If you have a fully funded track program where you can recruit out-of-state, out-of-country kids, you will be able to compete on this level. Look at A&T. How many of those kids are from North Carolina? Not a whole lot. But you look at the Prairie View team, 90% out of the state of Texas. You look at the teams over in Mississippi, 90% out of that they're homegrown, because they aren't able to recruit out of state because of the funding. Out of state tuition is almost 3 times as much as in state. So am I going to do 3 for 1 on a scholarship? Probably not.
Shut it down right there. Great place to end it. Let me give a shout out to Texas Southern University sophomore Kenneth Pree, finished 8th in the flight 2 of 2 and 19th overall. Again, interesting how there are 2 competitors from HBCUs and they are in the same flight. So big deal there. Shout out again to Dr. Roderick Holmes, giving us a lot of this information. Chop up. Want to give a shout out to him, Texas Southern University Department of Mathematics, interim chair there. Shout out to Edwin Drading. I know he's a track dad. Roosevelt Huggins, to our good friends. He's a track dad in terms of getting done. Unfortunately for Dre, just to let you know that COVID is not over and it is real. Arizona State is where his son runs track, and the roommate, COVID-19 positive. So they had to pull out. They wouldn't let him run, which makes sense in terms of how serious it is, COVID-19. So just want to give a shout out there. Make sure everybody knows that if you can, really look into the information, get your shot. Make sure if you're not, make sure you're masking up, you're taking care of yourself, take care of your family. While you are, as young individuals that are checking this out, may be able to fight through it, think about some of your elder individuals in our community and across the country and the world for that matter, as we look at it. So just want to give it a little shout out there to some of the individuals. With that, thank you for listening to Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends, colleagues. I'm Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside of the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As we said, Mike Washington's on assignment. We have Alan Williams in. Really enjoyed chopping it up today with you, Alan. Always bringing it hard and heavy. Charles, appreciate you. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Be sure to tune in for us Tuesday. I know we promised you that we'd have Coach Ross in. Again, the scheduling conflict in terms of the NCAA. So hopefully he'll have some championships to talk about when we have him on Tuesday. We're scheduled to have that. Hopefully everything works out. So wanted to make sure that the Aggie fans knew it wasn't on our fault, on our side. We're not blaming anybody, but we do plan to make sure that you get the coach in here. There's a lot of people interested and should be. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Shout out to Roy, always making sure he takes care of us as he's a Roy warrior, as he took care of the business down there this week on Birmingham. So I want to say thanks for that. We'll have some great announcements coming shortly. Some new additions to BCSN, working on that, and some other things coming along. So stick with us. Make sure you're downloading the app, BCSN, My JVN, My BCSN. Download the app. We got a lot of things in store coming up this year. Fall 2021, a lot of things changed, a lot of good directions. Keep forward. We'll keep you up on it. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. Facebook is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. YouTube, dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Alan?
Of course.
Charles.
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.